caught my fiance cheating in bed with my sister. I have just been betrayed by the two people I trusted most, and I don't know what to feel anymore. I'm sorry if this is annoying. I can't stop thinking about it, and for some reason I feel more secure venting it to strangers rather than people who know me and can judge me more in depth. I won't lie, I have been suspecting my fiance was having an affair, but I didn't have any solid evidence to accuse him. Even then, I had a feeling that I didn't want to dig any deeper because I was scared in case what I was suspecting was true. 12 days ago, I came home from visiting my mom's and I headed upstairs to wake my fiance, as he had a habit of sleeping in way past 2 p.m. and then complained that I didn't wake him. I open the door, and all I see is my practically naked sister rushing to try and get out of a lingerie bodysuit that belonged to me. I don't know how to explain it, but my mind just went blank. Like whatever I was thinking about beforehand suddenly disappeared. You know when you stand up too fast and your head just gets a little dizzy? That's what I felt alongside the feeling of sickness brewing in my stomach. I stood there for a solid 30 seconds looking at the two people I trusted most and looked more shocked than I felt. My fiance jumped out of bed and suddenly came up with excuses. It went from, "It was an accident," to, "I was lonely and needed skinship relief." I probably should add that my best friend ended herself 2 weeks ago. The girl I knew for over 15 years was suddenly out of my life, and even though I'm surrounded by people, I've told my fiance about how alone, devastated, and guilty that I couldn't have done anything to help her. I just left. I didn't take my car, because at that point my eyes were about to just start flooding. I walked to my friend's 10 minutes and confided in her about what happened. The amount of grief I felt from not only losing a best friend forever, but losing my relationships with my fiance and sister within the same 2-week period. Now that I'm sitting down to write this, I don't know if any of these relationships will ever be mended or could ever go back to the way they were. I don't understand why my sister, of all people, would do this. There was never any favoritism toward any of us for her to feel spite. I have never intentionally tried to hurt her. I gave her shelter when she had no place to go, and despite her not paying a single penny, I bought her food that she liked, made sacrifices in my own home for her. Hell, she kept ranting about how our living room walls gave her a headache, they were white. So I took time out of my day to paint it a nice gray color. My fiance too, I gave that man everything I was willing to have kids with him, despite the fact I always wanted to be child-free. I was going to start a family so that he was happy. I gave him comfort whenever something bad happened to him. I spent hours watching unfunny movies that he seemed to find hilarious. I even gave him a freaking locket with our anniversary photo that he decided to wear while sticking it in my sister. These last few days I've gone from sadness to being angry, then disgusted, and it's a constant cycle I've not been able to get out of. Despite being smoking-free for 2 years, I've picked up a cigarette. I used to be heavily addicted to smoking from 16 to 21. I'm currently 23. There are moments when I go to do something, but automatically lose interest. And even over dinner, I don't know how to explain it properly as I've never felt this way, but I'm bored of eating. I have to physically force myself to eat something, and I have no idea what's going on to my body at this very moment. For some reason, it feels as if I've gone into hibernation. I sleep almost 17 hours a day now, and even for the rest of those hours, I'm still tired and force myself to stay awake. Both of them asked to meet up on Wednesday. My sister's exact message was, "Hey, I know you probably don't want to hear from me right now, but can you meet me and my fiance? We want to talk, and we want you to properly hear us out. The situation you found us in was not the most ideal situation to put you in a good headspace to talk about it right there and then. Please let us explain. I love you, and you're my sister, and I don't want to lose you, please." I think it's too late. It was too late from whenever this affair started, or even when you started getting skinship desires for my fiance. I miss my sister, but according to what I saw, the sister I miss and whoever my sister is now are not the same person. I haven't talked to anyone yet, except the one friend I'm currently staying with at the moment. I'm scared I'll be seen as a failure of a future wife, but now I don't even think I want to be a wife anymore. But I guess I'd rather share to strangers than people who know me personally. I apologize again. There's some updates, and I want to clarify some things with you guys. At first, I was just going to dump this vent to get it out of my mind, but I want to say thank you for everyone's advice. I guess this counts as a small update. I'm unsure. So far, nothing big has really happened. The friend I'm staying with has offered to come with me to talk to my parents about this, also including my older brother. She honestly been my rock through this whole situation, and I couldn't ask for a better support system from one person. Though I don't plan on putting that on her shoulders, since it would be stressful to be the designated support system friend. I'm currently looking into therapy for both my grief and the affair. I'm not well versed legal-wise, so I'm currently in the process of looking for a lawyer, just so legally I know I'm in the clear, in case there would be a loophole somewhere. I did contact my sister, and another copy-pasted message. I replied, "I don't plan on meeting with you on Wednesday. I'll talk to you when I'm ready, and whether it be tomorrow or years from now, it doesn't matter. You both owe me my own time to heal, after the two people I've trusted most went behind my back, betrayed my trust, all under my roof that you both lived rent-free under. Bye." I can't lie. I was almost ready to tell her to meet me there, and then when she sent that message, but I realized that I need time to work on myself mentally, rather than repair a long-gone relationship with my sister. No, I don't plan on going back to my ex and never will. Maybe one day I'll hear him out, but today is not that day. As for now, I'm getting ready to try and explain to my parents everything that happened. I don't have any evidence between my ex and sister. However, I do have their messages they sent me, which traps one another. I think that's the right wording? I wanted to log back on, as I wanted to thank the people who showed me more kindness than people I was supposed to trust, and also the people who seemed interested in my life. Can't blame them when I read something that has some drama. I do also become invested. I'll start with myself. I got myself into therapy and began taking care of myself and myself only. Entering my relationship with my ex, I hadn't noticed how much time I spent taking care of him and neglecting myself and my needs. It was one of those relationships where you didn't notice the faults until you left and became a sort of specter of what the relationship actually was. I think part of me was so invested in believing he was a good guy because how past relationships had hurt me before that I tried very hard to hold on to the idea that I had finally found someone who was different. Loving the wrong person can lead to devastating consequences, and I just happened to do that exact thing. Whenever I had seen stories before about people staying with their cheating partner, I was so quick to criticize how stupid that would be and thought, what did you expect? When they cheat again. But now that I've been through that, it was eye-opening. It's not easy to just up and leave behind someone you had invested so much love, time, and effort into. Yes, you can lose all love for that person in seconds, but you never lose the feeling of the love you felt before, if that makes sense. After I found out, I did want to try and work it out for many reasons, but through the help of my therapist, she helped me realize that I wanted to stay, because after my best friend's death, he was the only thing that felt familiar in the moment. Everyone is growing up and moving away in my life. I was in a position that I felt so alone. But to expect people not to change is to not allow growth. They moved out of my house and I moved back in. I won't lie, it was lonely. I was so used to other voices in my home that it felt empty. But an empty room is open to hundreds of ideas, in my opinion. I redecorated with the help of friends and some family. And even though I had lost 2 people thanks to them, I was able to make memories that I'll cherish. I won't try and cover up that before I got therapy. I was indeed a wreck. I was just so tired of disappointment from my ex that the cheating was the final blow that knocked me back into reality. My sister's betrayal hurt way worse because we share the same parents. We used to share bunk beds and without my knowledge, shared the same partner. But I owe them a thanks for allowing me to remove people who clearly had no good intentions. I will always love my sister, even though I don't want to. But sometimes there are strings attached to people that just can't be cut, and she is one of them. I'll never welcome her into my home again, but I'll answer the phone if she was at her lowest. Even though she was a snake in my garden, doesn't mean she's not my sister. She did try to call a couple of weeks after she had moved out, and at first I was angry at her. I honestly just wanted to hit her with everything I had, but when I answered and heard her voice, I just felt sorry for her. Everyone in my family knew how terrible she was, and just for some pleasure, she ruined the last relationship that was trying to help her. I just think she's a very self-destructive person that will never learn. They were constantly staying at different friends' houses because they couldn't afford to rent anywhere. My sister is apparently cheating on my ex with random people, and none of them are able to hold down a job. I would say karma, but it's just sad. My ex traded someone who became a pushover for him, who gave him everything she could for someone who couldn't give a shit about him. I wish them well. I deserve better than that, and I just hope one day they grow up and begin to become better people than who they are right now. My family no longer talks to my sister, so she's on her own. Sometimes I hear about her, and it reminds me of a confused child. However, I did see her on New Year's Eve. Me and some friends went clubbing because why not? And we unintentionally ran into her. At first I tried to ignore her and just pretend I didn't see her, but she ended up coming up to me and tried to talk to me as if nothing happened. As the ex-partner, I wanted to slap her, but as her sister, I wanted to hug her and ask her why. But I just left. After we remove labels of sister or her partner's ex or whatever, we share the same DNA, and that will always be the thing that connects us. As for my dating life, I'm currently seeing someone and have been since November 23rd. I deserve happiness, and I deserve a lot more than what my ex gave me. However, I'm still dealing with issues from that relationship that has me in moments of guilt of not giving my full trust. I'm happy that he understands and listens to me when I have concerns, but I don't want to constantly live with issues I carry because of someone else. We're taking it slow, and he always reassures me. He's a good guy, and I'm happy he's in my life. I will find my peace with the situation eventually, but I'll have to work to get to that point, and that's okay. Sorry for the whole ramble, but this is still sort of a vent post. I have a lot of mixed emotions that I haven't been able to untangle. Thank you to everyone who listened, reached out, and gave advice. I did tell my parents the whole conversation was really hard for me. They were furious, but it was obvious by how my dad was responding to things I was saying. He was much more angry at my sister than my mom, which I understand since he came from a broken home due to his father's infidelity. My mom wanted to go less contact at first because she didn't want to outright cut off her daughter. And I understood, but I didn't tell them the truth with the intent she be cut off. And I did let them know that all I wanted from the conversation was an understanding that I will not be in the same room, never mind the same building as her, at the same time. My dad did call me one evening to let me know that my sister and my ex showed up for a surprise dinner and gave a sob story about how things happen. The funniest thing they said was, "Sometimes people fall in love with the wrong person to meet the right one." Said by the woman who currently cheats on the man she supposedly loves. My sister did get fully cut off after she got caught stealing from my aunt's house. She was supposed to babysit and stole all sorts of things like electronics and my nephew's stuff. As for meeting up with them, I did not. I decided that at the time it would not help me at all to meet up with them, and I'm just assuming they wanted to try and clear their guilty conscience. I do get occasional messages from random accounts on social media from them, but I've chosen to ignore them and stop focusing on something I know will only hurt me in the future. My husband has been cheating on me with a young woman who also his student for the past of 3 years. I have no freaking idea what to do. For context, my ex-husband is a doctor, and he was in love with his student for years. She was into him too and wrote him a love letter, etc. When I confronted him, he told me it was a crush and that he put a stop to it as soon as he could, and that nothing physical ever happened, but the damage was done. My husband and I, both 35 years old, met in college. We fell in love and got married 8 years back. I gave birth to our daughter in 2020. My husband is a professor at this med school. He's a doctor himself. My friend Selena also works in the same college, and she's in the same department as my husband. A few months back, in December, Selena took me out for lunch and told me that she suspected something's going on between my husband and this med student, a 25-year-old female. She claimed she'd seen both of them give yearning looks to each other. She said that she's known my husband for so long, and she'd never seen him talk to any other woman like this, that he'd been so aloof around women all these years. But it's just different with this one girl. At that moment, I had laughed at her face. I remember telling her that she's jumping to conclusions based on these supposed yearning looks. "That's why I didn't tell you before," she had said. "I was confused too. It's not like he goes out of his way to talk to her, but whenever they do talk, it's like watching a slow-burn romance movie. She looks at him like he's Brad Pitt, and he looks at her the way he used to look at you." I remember the exact words because they stung. Internally, I was breaking down. Externally, I just smiled and told her that she's probably overthinking. That night, I casually mentioned this to my husband. I was laughing at the absurdity, and I expected him to join in and deny the wild possibility that he's in love with a student. But he didn't. Instead, he looked at me, all teary-eyed, and said, "I'm sorry. I can't get her out of my mind. I've tried, trust me, I should have told you sooner. But I thought I could save our relationship. I really wanted to." I asked him if he'd cheated on me. He said no. He said he didn't even talk to her, nor did they have any contact outside of college, and that he completely understood how morally depraved it is to try and pursue a relationship with a student. She wrote him a letter about a year back, confessing her love for him, and he had told her that even though he was into her, nothing would come out of it. Apparently, that was when the yearning looks had started. I honestly don't remember how I reacted then. I think I just started packing and came to live with my parents along with my daughter. I've been living with my parents since then. Half of me wanted him to come and beg for forgiveness. But he never did. He comes by sometimes to spend time with our daughter, but that's it. He never talks about the elephant in the room, nor do I bring it up. I keep checking that girl's social media. She's insanely beautiful, almost doll-like, and intelligent. I can't help but think that someone like him should be with someone like her. He's always been very good-looking, and I'm more of a plain Jane. She's Meredith to his Derek. I don't know what to do. What do I even tell people? I don't even know who I am without him. Some part of me still wants him to come back. After stucking in depression for a few days, I've decided to talk to him. I know I've been avoiding this for months, but after reading all the responses, I feel it's time I rip that Band-Aid out. I'm going over to our house. In short, I have decided to go ahead with the divorce. The day I made the post, I met up with Selena for dinner. I thanked her for telling me about my husband and the student, and also for being such a good friend. I asked her about my husband. She said there's nothing unusual. He's been a bit withdrawn and aloof with everyone lately, but that's about it. Yesterday, I went over to my house unannounced. He was there alone in his office. I told him I wanted to talk. He said he'll explain everything. So apparently this woman has had a crush on him for 2 years. Her friends ship her with him. She would stare at him during her rotations and would blush whenever he looked or talked to her. Back then, he didn't think much of it. Many girls have had crushes on him, and he always ignored them. About 1.5 years back, they were in the same research group thing. I don't know how this works, but there were 5 to 6 people along with these two. Because of this, they had to spend some time together working, and it was then that he started noticing her. He went into detail about how he was impressed with her intelligence, blah blah blah, and her beauty, blah blah blah. The moment he realized that he had a crush on her, he dropped out of the research thing. This was a year ago. A few weeks later, she gave him the letter confessing that she has feelings for him. The first thing he told her after reading it was, "You can get into trouble because of this." She didn't care. She wanted an answer. "Is it all in my head?" she had asked, to which he replied with, "It's not just in your head, but nothing can come out of it. I hope you understand." That was the last time they interacted. According to him, The yearning looks Selena described were more of awkward eye contacts than anything else. He told me that even though he is still attracted to her, he has no intention of pursuing any sort of relationship with her, regardless of whether we stay together or not. He said he's willing to change his job and go to therapy. I told him to give me some time to think about it. To sum up, 1. This has been going on for 3 years. Not once did he mention anything to me. 2. The student and him spent a considerable amount of time last year working on the research. 3. He told her he liked her back. 4. He's still very much attracted to her. And that's why I've decided to go ahead with a divorce. I don't think I can trust this man again. And a relationship without trust isn't something I am interested in. I've told my parents about it. They're not exactly on board, but they're still supportive. I've also contacted my lawyer about the same. It's going to be a long process, I believe. That's it. I believe this is my last update. So I decided to take our daughter and permanently move to my parents' house. We're in the middle of separating now. A lot of people have told me to forgive him, and I've myself debated if I'm taking the correct step or not, but the trust is gone, and I don't think I want to be in a relationship with someone like him. It's taking a lot of strength to do this. I have lost all self-esteem. Fact is that I was always insecure of how my ex was way above my league, about how I was lucky to have him, how people often said he could have done so much better. Over the years, my insecurities had disappeared. Now it's all back. He's attracted to someone so beautiful, so incredibly intelligent, and obviously she's also into him. I keep looking at her social media all the time, obsessing over her. There was an Instagram story she uploaded where she was with my ex-husband and a few others, and it felt like someone stabbed me in the heart. He looked happy, and he'd never looked that happy in years. I got tired of being pathetic and even complained to the hospital management about the inappropriate relationship between her and my ex. All I got in response was that they can't take any steps without concrete proof. Now my sad ass wants to snitch about her to her parents, to get her in trouble, to make her suffer. I know this is unhealthy. I'm in therapy, but I decay. I don't think I'm healing. I hate that I have to be sad and heartbroken over that man, and he doesn't seem to care. He stopped coming to visit our daughter too. I wish he would have cared. I wish he would have fought for me. I wish he would have not tossed aside our decade-long relationship for her. I hate this. I hate everything.